In the UK, several world leaders have gathered in London to mark the 70th anniversary of NATO. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said he will press on with a digital sales tax even after the US threatened to punish France for a similar move. Well, let's bring in Juliana at this point. Hello, Juliana. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chimmy.
Well, let's begin with the markets there. We saw pound sterling climbing to its highest level against the dollar this morning since early May. So what direction is the equities market taking, and are the markets following Boris Johnson's statements on digital sales tax?
Well, yes, it's a good day on the equities and the currencies market here in the city today. Do they seem to be following the digital tax comments? No, this is just a repeated sentiment that the UK government have had over the past couple of years. So nobody seems to pick up on that just yet, unless, of course, Donald Trump, the US president, responds to what his ally has said. But there does appear to be a multitude of reasons. One of the big reasons why there seems to be a heightened sentiment is because there's a renewing of Conservative victory. We know that the polls have been narrowing recently. The Conservative Party, the ruling party, did have a double-digit lead. They no longer have a double-digit lead. Labour appeared to be gaining some ground, but the Conservatives seem to have torn well away again. And that, of course, would mean that the Brexit process would be a lot more smoother. That seems to be the talk in town at the moment. So the FTSE All-Share at intraday is up 0.33%. The FTSE 100 is up 0.26%, and the FTSE 250 is up 0.55%. Great day for sterling. The British pound is up on the US dollar by 0.40%, up on the euro by 0.49%, and up on the Japanese yen by 0.44%.
Now, amongst the company news on the wires today, which of them is hitting the market the most, Quiz or M&S, Sashi?
Well, some good news, which is a story that's being reported about John Lewis. John Lewis are that luxury department store here in the UK, very, very popular. They've announced that over the Black Friday 4-day weekend leading up to Cyber Monday, they saw their sales surge by 9.4%, which is a really good sign, a very important story, because, of course, as we know, for a lot of department stores, especially the smaller ones, Black Friday was really a make or break time for them. So the fact that John Lewis, the leading department store, has said that they really received the footfall is good news. Of course, I spoke about it with Bosun this morning about Saatchi, that very luxury, high net worth advertising agency. Their shares, and I just checked before I came on air, their shares are still slumping at about 40%, and that's because they had a significant accounting error. I was skilled this morning and told that, of course, that's exactly what shareholders don't like. They want you to be completely transparent, and Saatchi are in trouble. They've got PwC in to take over their accounts, but shareholders are not happy. And, of course, Quiz, that fast fashion chain, who have been doing quite well because their clothes are pretty cheap and are endorsed by some very well-known celebrities here in the UK. Their shares have stagnated online, and they saw a drop in revenue by over 5%. So at early trading, their shares had slumped by 15%. They're the biggest fallers on the FTSE today.
Anyway, let's look at the data out today. UK services sector, what's weighing on that sector?
Well, it's a mixed bag. We spoke on Monday about construction, well, on Tuesday about construction, on Monday about manufacturing. And I said the same thing, and I'll repeat the same thing. It's been better than expected. That's also helped push the FTSE up, actually, because we know that the UK economy has been struggling. We just managed to get ourselves out of recession, and the service industry contributes 80%. It's a lot of contribution to GDP. In November, the service industry number was 49.3. That's up from 48.6 in October. So that's the good news. The bad news is that we know that 50 is that benchmark. So anything below 50 does signal a contraction. But the fact that the contraction is happening a lot slower than those had expected and anticipated is seen as a good sign, Chimmy.
Well, we'll continue to follow those data as they come out, and of course, as we expect the UK election. Thank you, Juliana. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, Chimmy.
And in Asia, stocks mostly slipped today after U.S. President Donald Trump said overnight that he may delay a trade deal with China till after the 2020 U.S. presidential elections. Shares in Australia led losses among the region's major markets, with the S&P ASX 200 declining more 1.58% to close at 6,606.50. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 fell 1.05%. The Topix index also declined 0.2%. Mainland Chinese stocks were mixed on the day, with the Shanghai Composite down 0.23%, while the Shenzhen Composite rose 0.19%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index declined 1.16% as of its final hour of trading. South Korea's Kospi ended its trading day 0.73%. And in U.S. stock index futures edged higher in the morning. At around 1:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Dow futures rose 14 points, indicating a positive open of more than 4 points. Futures on the S&P and Nasdaq were both marginally higher. Market players are monitoring high-level meetings between President Donald Trump and other NATO leaders as the institution celebrates 70 years of existence. On the data front, there will be ADP payrolls out at 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time, followed by services PMIs at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time and ISM non-manufacturing data at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. In corporate news, Campbell Soup, Slack and Royal Bank of Canada are due to report. And let's come down here on the African continent. The International Islamic Trade Finance Corporation will provide $1.1 billion of funding to help Egypt with imports of petroleum products and basic commodities in 2020. The funds are part of a $3 billion agreement between Egypt and ITFC signed in January 2018. Last year, acute shortages of foreign currency caused delays in some payments of Egypt's General Authority for Supply Commodities, which was a signatory to the deal to global suppliers. The financing at the time ensured dollars were available for the state buyer to use for payment at some of its international purchasing tenders.